What's up YouTube? My name is Eduardo and today I'll be taking a look at the CDL 01 RC. Now I bought this from eBay and it cost me $90 and she also came with this brown box. So let's open it and see what's inside. Alright, what do you get? Some assembly required. Alright. Instructions. And what is this? And the accessories. Okay, let's get this thing transformed off screen. Now here she is in her robot mode. And for those of you that don't know, this is actually a knockoff of the EX01 Nice. And both of these were inspired by Arcee, the character from The Transformers, the movie. So Arcee here does come with an extra head that more closely resembles her namesake, something that the original Nice didn't come with, even though that was implied with the pre-release pictures. Now, even though she's a knockoff of a third-party Transformers figure, she doesn't look cheap. But if you took this and the original Nice and stood them side by side, you'd see that they're practically identical detail-wise. The only difference would be that Arcee has a different color scheme that's closer to Transformers Arcee. Anyways, she stands at exactly 7 inches. And here's some size comparisons so you can see where she stands next to the other figures. Here's the Figma Farah, and there she is in another pose. Jack's Pacific Mario from the Mario movie, Star Scream. My last review, the Figma Sophia F. Shearing, and there's She-Hulk. They're about the same size. Alright, so articulation wise, we've got pretty standard stuff here. Her head can spin in a full circle. Her neck goes up and down. It can go back that far, it can go forward that far, and she can look down pretty far and look up not really far. Now her arms, they can spin around a full 360 degrees, and she's got a bend at the elbow. And her upper arm has a swivel that can spin a full 360. Her hand is connected to a ball joint and it spins around, but the one on mine is really stiff, so sucks to be me. Now the legs on this figure might be the best part. I really like the design of them, the thickness up in the thighs, and also love how she's like 60% legs. And this wheel right here, I feel is pretty sharp. It actually spins. So back to the legs. She can actually pull off a full splits. And her upper thigh is somewhat detachable. It's actually have this weird mechanism on it that lets you bend it up, and that kind of adds to her posability. And that just snaps back into place. And she's got a bend at the knee. And a pretty cool detail is these pistons move when you bend the knee up and down. Her feet do have a nice pivot, and I'm not sure what that gray thing is, but it also bends up and down. Her heels can actually also fold back and forth, so you can make her have a wider step or something. Actually, I think that's for balancing, so she stands up better. And that's the abridged version of the articulation. So why don't we move on and take a look at those accessories, because she's got a few. Besides the open hands, you also get 2 trigger hands, 2 closed fist hands, another hand to hold the sword, and another hand for, I don't know. So the gun that she comes with looks pretty cool, but it comes with a few problems. On one hand, it's kinda wobbly in her hand. Another problem is the gun fits too tightly in her hand, so it's really hard to pull that thing off. Choose wisely if you want her to be left or right-handed before you put the gun in one of those hands. I'm probably just gonna leave it permanently attached to her hand because I don't want to risk breaking the gun. On the bright side, at least she'll never drop the gun when firing it. Besides the gun, she also comes with this cool sword. The sword is definitely the better of the 2 accessories, but did Arcee ever use a sword in anything Transformers? And also, don't Transformers use like melee weapons made of energon or something? It doesn't really matter though, this is third-party fig, so who cares? So to get the sword into her hand, you have to kind of lift up her fingers a little bit with your nail, so then you can wedge the sword into her hand. And after that, she's got a pretty tight grip on the sword. I like to pose the sword over her shoulder like she's a mercenary from Fire Emblem. She also gets this white piece that you can attach to her elbow like it's a shield, but getting it on is kind of a pain in the ass, and it's hard to bend her arm when she has it equipped, so I recommend not using it because the sword is fine on its own. Besides, everyone knows that two-handing a sword is way cooler than using one hand, and look, you can even pose her like she's about to swing a baseball bat. Or this overhead pose like she's about to kill Frieza. The last weapon she comes with is this bow, which you need to attach this gray piece so that she's able to hold it. Now the bow is really cool in her hand, but the problem is this is the only pose I could put her in because the bow is too heavy, and if you try to lift, she can't lift it up properly because it just slides down. So putting her in a proper firing pose is going to be really hard unless you tighten those joints, and really, who has time for that? She also comes with another chest piece. The manual refers to it as a replacement gum chest. And yep, it's kinda squishy. It's like this rubber material. So to swap out the chest piece, all you gotta do is lift up her arms and you can just pull the chest out. Then you grab the replacement one and it clicks in. She comes with 2 extra heads that are inspired by Arcee from Transformers G1. To switch them out, all you gotta do is rip her head out and plug in the new one. Not gonna lie though, even without a head, she looks pretty good, for those of you that are into that kind of thing. Her default head has 2 faces, and to switch the faces, you gotta pull out that pink thing that's in front of her head, and that's a pain in the ass, so you're gonna need a part separator, and then you just slide in the new face and put that back in, and then you can have the lewd face on. So she is perfectly capable of standing on her own, but if you want, there is a hole in her back that does fit a Figma stand, so she can get support with that if you want to put her in the famous Chun-Li pose. Now, my biggest complaint with the figure is her legs are attached together on this piece on her crotch there, and one side can lean in further than the other, and you can kind of push them back and forth like a seesaw, and that gets pretty annoying because I always want to have them perfectly centered, and every time you pick this thing up, you gotta make sure that her legs are perfectly symmetrical. And that's everything with the robot mode. And yep, this is a transformer, and she can transform, so let's get to that part now. So here's footage of me transforming this figure. I'm really terrible at the instructions that come with these things, so I always have to have a video of someone else doing it, because the instructions, I feel like they're always bad. Also, they're not in English, but I guess that's my fault for not knowing Chinese. The transformation process was somewhat annoying, but it's doable. The most annoying part was when you had to flip the doors over. Other than that though, everything went into place, and a lot of things snapped together too, so I do appreciate that. I do recommend that you watch someone else's video on how to transform this though, because there are a couple of parts that I did that I didn't show here because transforming on camera is pretty difficult, and there were parts where I had to pull her off screen so I can get a better grip of it. I do end up pulling her hands off on this part because the instructions doesn't say so, but they sometimes get in the way after she's transformed, and the hands touch the floor sometimes and make her roll not so well. So after the car mode is mostly built, there was just these parts that I had to tighten a bit because there was some pieces here that weren't symmetrical and some parts that didn't tab in. And I was having some issues getting the wheels to roll smoothly. So here is the completed car, and it looks really sleek, really cool. You wouldn't be able to tell this is a transformer if you didn't know it. If this thing was in all pink, it would look like some cool Barbie car. And here's the underside. You can see the robot mode is hidden pretty well under the car. Her feet sometimes get in the way of the rolling though. I don't know what's up with that. But she mostly rolls pretty well. By the way, ignore the Beast Wars in the background. I forgot to pause the show while I was recording this part, but I like the intro theme, so I'll just leave it in instead of muting it. Alright, so in the car mode, she stands at about 1.5 inches tall, and lengthwise she is 7 inches wide. Now, size comparisons. Farah, Mario, She-Hulk, and Starscream. And here's Starscream from a different angle, and She-Hulk one more time. Here are some Lego minifigures I put on the car. They're not really to scale, but they sit on it just fine. So the car mode is pretty cool, but I'll probably just be leaving her in robot mode. So, you guys probably know why I bought this figure. I like Transformers, and I like Arcee. And if you like Arcee a little too much, then this is probably the perfect figure for you. The exaggerated design might be a turnoff for some people, but it's a plus in my book, though I do wish she had better posability. I mean, she can't even do the Street Fighter 6 Cammy pose, but she can get some decent poses. And the original Arcee never strayed away from some suggestive posing. But anyways, if you're willing to import from China and this unique design appeals to you, I say go for it. There's also an Elito 1 variant on the Shozi store. It looks to be the same figure except a different head because it's supposed to be Alita this time. And that one's half off, so that one's worth looking into. But anyways, I'm probably gonna give this one an 8 out of 10.